President Trump's proposed 50% tariffs on EU imports and 25% on Apple products not made in the U.S. threaten global trade stability. Is this bold economic nationalism, or a risky game with far-reaching costs? On May 23, 2025, President Donald Trump reignited the flames of global trade warfare with a dramatic proposal: a 50% tariff on all European Union (EU) goods starting June 1, and a 25% tariff on Apple products not manufactured in the United States. This announcement, coming amid stalled trade talks and mounting political tension, has shaken markets, strained alliances, and triggered fears of retaliatory escalation. At its core, this move signals the return of a combative, unilateralist approach to trade, one that may rally domestic support in the short term but could sow long-term economic fragmentation and geopolitical risk. Tariffs as a hammer, not a scalpel. Trump's economic philosophy has long rested on two pillars: protectionism and nationalism. His proposed 50% tariff on EU goods is a stark escalation from the 20% rate implemented in April 2025. Frustrated by what he deems unfair trade barriers, Trump is wielding tariffs as a blunt force tool to punish what he calls exploitative trade partners. But while this might resonate with his political base, particularly in manufacturing-heavy Midwestern states, the implications stretch far beyond campaign optics. The EU has already prepared a €21 billion counter-tariff package, with up to €95 billion more in retaliation under review. This could mark the beginning of a tit-for-tat spiral not seen since the worst moments of the US-China trade war. If the world's two largest economic blocs plunge into a tariff war, global trade flows could be disrupted, consumer prices could spike, and the post-pandemic recovery could stall, especially in export-reliant sectors like automobiles, agriculture, and consumer electronics. The apple of discord in a particularly pointed move, Trump also threatened to impose a 25% tariff on Apple products manufactured outside the U.S. The message was loud and clear: if American tech companies want to avoid punitive costs, they must come home to build. While the administration frames this as a patriotic push for industrial revival, the consequences are more complicated. Apple, like most global tech firms, relies on a deeply entrenched supply chain that stretches across Asia, from iPhone assembly in India and Vietnam to semiconductor sourcing in Taiwan and South Korea. Imposing tariffs on these products will almost certainly raise consumer prices and reduce competitiveness in foreign markets. Moreover, it risks sparking corporate instability. Apple is not just a brand, it's a bellwether. If Apple is punished for its global manufacturing model, other US firms may wonder, are we next? Markets react, but who really pays? Within hours of the announcement, the S&P 500 dropped by 1.2% and the Stoxx Europe 600 fell by 1.7%, reflecting investor fears of a looming economic showdown. But markets are merely the early warning system. The real impact will be felt by small businesses, workers, and families. Tariffs function like indirect taxes. When companies pay more to import goods, they often pass the cost to consumers. In the US, that means higher prices on everything from European luxury goods and German cars to iPhones and MacBooks. In Europe, it means reduced access to the US market and declining confidence in stable trade relations with Washington. It also threatens to deepen inflationary pressures already burdening middle and lower income households, ironically, the very demographic Trump claims to champion. Strategic vision or economic isolation? To Trump's defenders, these tariffs are strategic leverage. They believe the EU will return to the table with more favorable terms, and that Apple, and other US giants, will finally bring their factories home. In their view, this is tough love for a nation that has offshored too much and negotiated too little. But for many economists, this is a high-risk gamble that could alienate allies, destabilize markets, and discourage foreign investment. The US became a global powerhouse by engaging the world, not retreating from it. The strength of American innovation lies in open collaboration, not forced isolation. Conclusion: the tariff trap. Trump's tariff proposals are bold, disruptive, and deeply polarizing. They evoke a time when American presidents could rally support by erecting walls, literal or economic. But we no longer live in a world where any one nation can act unilaterally without consequences. Global trade is a system of mutual dependency. Breaking it risks not only economic loss but the unraveling of decades of international cooperation and trust. As we approach the enforcement date of June 1st, the world is watching, and markets are holding their breath. The big question isn't just about tax policy or trade deficits. It's this: in the pursuit of economic sovereignty, are we building resilience, or isolating ourselves from the very prosperity we seek to protect?